In this video, I'm going to be talking about the 3 films from Andrzej Żuławski from Eureka Entertainment, just released this week on Blu-ray. I had been waiting for this for a very long time, but was it worth the wait? And are these films something that you should be considering adding to your own collection? Andrzej Żuławski was a Polish film director who came to prominence, particularly in this country, when his film Possession was labelled as a video nasty. Now, I have a Blu-ray of Possession here, and this is by far his most famous work. This film caused such a fuss because of certain things that are shown in the film, but also because of how it creates this atmosphere of a nightmare and showing someone's mental health breaking down in real time throughout the film, which makes this a great primer for the 3 films released from Eureka, because they are very much also dealing with these nightmare scenarios. So for that reason, before I get into the Eureka box set, I would say if you are new to the works of Żuławski, Possession is a great place to start. And currently in the UK, the Blu-ray is out of print, but there is a 4K Blu-ray coming in the near future, and you can access it online. So I would say maybe give this one a shot before you go into the new set from Eureka. However, if you're feeling particularly daring and perhaps you're familiar with Polish cinema, the likes of Wojciech Haas and Andrzej Wajda, maybe you just want to dive straight into this even if you haven't seen Possession. Most Polish filmmakers in the second half of the 20th century were concerning themselves with World War II and the hangover from the World War, because the Polish people went through unspeakable things under Nazi occupation, and then after World War II, when the Nazis were removed, Russia and the communists came in and took over, and it was a new kind of hell for the Polish people. Now, because the communist government had control over the media and the arts, you couldn't tackle these issues head on. You had to go through allegory and metaphor and genre. So that is why we see these films, although they seem detached from reality, they are very much dealing with issues that the Polish people suffered with during these times. Now, before I talk about the first film in the set, let's have a quick look at what this actually is. So you get this hard box case from Eureka. This is part of the Masters of Cinema line, so they do have spine numbers as well. Inside, if I pull this out, you get 2 Blu-ray cases and a book. In the first Blu-ray case, you get the third part of The Night and The Devil, and these are on separate discs. Likewise, you also get On the Silver Globe, and then a 4th disc containing the documentary, which is all about On the Silver Globe. And then a 50-page book, which features some original writings about these movies, as well as some historical documents. So fascinating stuff after you've watched these films. But going back to the first disc, the third part of The Night, this was Andrzej Żuławski's feature film debut. And if you've seen Possession, you will see a lot of that film in his first film. So in that respect, he was a very consistent filmmaker. It makes me think of that quote. I can't remember who said it. They were talking about painters and how a painter paints the same tree his whole life. And I think if a filmmaker or an artist is being authentic, you can see that same spirit in each one of their films. And that is definitely the case with these. In the film, we follow this man who goes through this unspeakable loss at the start of the film. He then has to escape and assume a new identity, and he is on the run. He is very much trapped in this urban environment, very kind of claustrophobic, feels very much like a labyrinth or a maze that he is trying to escape. There's lots of running, the camera is swirling, it's very frenetic, lots of energy. He meets this woman who is a doppelganger for his lost wife, and yeah, he just descends into madness, very much like Possession, as I've said. And there's some very weird things in this film, quite eerie. There's this weird subplot with these experimental vaccinations that the Nazis were using at the time. Some very literally skin-crawling imagery there. But the film is very cold, and I think that is a word that is fit for use for all of his filmography. His films are cold, they are detached, and even the cinematography and the use of colour in this film gives it this cold, bleak atmosphere. And I know there's been some discussion about the restorations used on these new discs, about whether the films should look this cold. Do they look a bit too blue? That's very hard for me to say, because I'd been holding out for this set to watch these films. So I've never seen them before, so I can't directly compare. But I believe that these new restorations were based on notes from Żuławski, and that he wanted the films to look this way. On the second disc, you get the film The Devil, which is this Faustian drama where this man is about to be imprisoned, and then this mysterious figure appears who may or may not be the devil, and he gives him his freedom, but in return he has to help the devil carry out his work. Now, this story is set in the 17th century, so it was very detached from real life at the time it was made. However, this is clearly, an allegory for government informants and the government going to people and asking them to, tell on other people in their communities. And the government did see through this, because the film was banned for well over a decade because of that. It's another great film, and again, it's cold, it's bleak, it feels like a nightmare, and I think you have to want that to, enjoy these films. On both of these discs, in the special features, there's some great interviews with Michael Brook, who goes through the films and Żuławski and all that was going on at the time of making these films in the Polish film industry. So all around great discs here for these two films. We move on now to what might be the centerpiece for people in this set. It's On the Silver Globe. This is a film that I'd heard about for many years because it has quite a large cult following. That is because it's this science fiction film made by Żuławski that was ordered to be shut down when it was 80% completed, and the government also wanted the film to be completely destroyed. Now, luckily, the filmmakers saved the film. They did not destroy it completely, and we have the film here 80% complete, and it is quite remarkable. It's very strange and peculiar, but I loved watching it on this Blu-ray. It's a science fiction story based on, I think it was Żuławski's great uncle who wrote this series of science fiction novels. And it's about these astronauts that go to this other planet and they set up this small colony here, and the community grows and grows. And then later this other astronaut goes there and has to connect with the people there and see what's going on. It feels a bit like Lord of the Flies. It feels a bit like Hard to Be a God. It feels quite a lot like Dune in the way that the desert landscape is created at the start of the film. And the way that the camera moves in this film, I don't know if it's just me, it feels almost like a Terrence Malick movie. It's a very out there movie. I don't think I fully understand this film and all of the subtext, but I had such a great time finally seeing this movie. Like I said, it's only 80% complete. So all of the bits that weren't complete, he went and filmed scenes of city life and just narrated the story on top of it. It would have been great to have a complete film, but due to the history of the making of this film, it's a real miracle that we even have it in this state. There is remarkable cinematography. It looks beautiful. It looks blue. It looks cold, but it looks great. And as I mentioned, you also get a documentary, Escape to the Silver Globe, which was made a couple of years ago about the making of this film, and the people involved were all interviewed. And it's very fascinating hearing them talk about their experience making the film. So what we have here, I think, a great Blu-ray package. For me, this is one of the best Blu-ray releases of the year so far, and just further proves to me that we are living in this great golden age of physical media. I think a few years ago, this kind of release might have felt like an impossibility. I think some people thought that these films would never come to Blu-ray in this condition, you know, from these 4K scans, this new restoration that has undergone here. So great work and a fantastic release from Eureka. If you love world cinema and you want to hear about more things to add to your collection, then just click the video that's presented on screen right now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.